I just dropped the remote on my foot. Ow. It hit like right on a knuckle. Okay, what's up and welcome to another episode of Gizmo Slip Tech. Today we're talking about $1,300 RTX 3060 laptops, basically everything that I've been able to find online that you can currently order. We're also going to talk about the RTX 3060 laptops that are likely to be priced less than $1,300 coming up here in a couple months, though we don't have full details on those, so we're just going to give you a rough idea of what those might look like. And then of course, whenever they do come out, I'll add them to my list of RTX laptops as well, so you'll be able to compare them on that list whenever they do arrive. Now before we get into this, I want to mention I'm doing an Asus Strix ROG G17 giveaway coming up on January 31st. It'll be at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be picking a random viewer on the live stream, so if you don't want to miss out on that, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell, or just mark your calendar so that you're notified whenever I do go live. Okay, let's see here. Now before we get into comparing all 7 of the different configurations you can buy for under $1,300, let's first talk about the laptops that'll be released later this year. Now the Acer Predator Helios 300 is going to start at $1,249, come with an RTX 3060, an Intel processor, and a 240Hz display. And it's going to launch in February along with that Nitro 5. And then we have the Lenovo Legion lineup. We don't have the exact pricing on each of the configs, but it'll be releasing in March with Ryzen 7 5000 series and an RTX 3060, as well as a 1080p 165Hz display. Now of course HP is going to release something sometime in the first half of this year, almost for sure. We haven't heard anything officially from HP yet, but I would expect them to definitely compete in this category. The HP Omen 15Z was one of the best laptops of last year. So those are the laptops we can expect in the first half of this year, but what about the laptops that are actually for sale right now? Alright, so first up we have the MSI GF65. Now this is the cheapest RTX 3000 laptop so far that's been publicly available, though I would expect like the Acer Nitro 5 and some of the other ones like Lenovo 5 to potentially compete. So currently this is the only RTX 3060 available for under $1,000. For $999 you get an i5 10300H, an RTX 3060 that is confirmed to be a Max-Q GPU. You get 8 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, and a full HD 144Hz display with 45% NTSC, which translates to about 62 or so percent sRGB, which is fairly low. Now last year a similar display was being used in some laptops that had a slower response rate, causing some ghosting. We don't know if this is a new version of the display that has a faster response rate, or if this is that budget model display. We'll have to wait and find out. That said, there are some options on this list with a better display. Now there is an alternative config available for the GF65. For $300 more, you can get 2 more cores with an i7 10750H, and you get 16 gigs of RAM as well. So you get a little more multi-core performance. It is still an Intel 10th gen CPU though, so that's not great. Overall, between these two specs, I think the $999 price point is much more attractive, because you should be able to get that $999 price point and then also get another 8 gig stick of RAM and put it in there for the cheapest overall gaming performance. And also 8 gigs of RAM, you can still fairly well use that in Windows 10. Now 8 gigs of RAM will certainly bottleneck you, and I would recommend getting up to 16 gigs of RAM for sure if you can. Upgrading the RAM on this chassis is fairly easy as well. Now this has a 720p webcam, a 512 gig NVMe SSD, which is quite nice for the price point, weighs only 4.1 pounds, and is 0.85 inches thin, so we're talking very thin and very portable. So this is the lightest weight chassis out of these laptops. Now it does have Bluetooth 5.1 and Wi-Fi 6 as well, so those are some nice bonuses, especially at this price point. Now past models of the GF65 had a great battery life, well over 5 hours or so of web browsing. We'll have to see if that is maintained in this model. Now there's a good amount of ports. You get 2 USB-Cs and 2 USB-As. You also get an HDMI, but no full-size SD card slot or Thunderbolt 3 support, so you don't get eGPU future proofing on this laptop, and a 180 watt power adapter with a 51 watt hour battery size. Now for some cons, we have a plastic chassis with a metal keyboard top deck and lid, and past models did have some keyboard flex. Now I have seen these in person at Best Buy, the last generation version. And overall, it seemed like a pretty average standard gaming laptop. Now, I have not seen the 2021 version of this machine in person yet, but I will be bringing you a full review of the machine. Now, one last thing about the port selection is all of the USB Type A's where you usually plug in a mouse are located on the right side. I always prefer to plug my mouse in on the left side so that the cable is kind of out of the way whenever you're gaming. Overall, I think the $999 version of the GF65 Thin is probably a really great bang for the buck, but we'll have to see whenever we get the full benchmarks in and we can get all the details on it. Now, next up, we have the Asus TUF Dash. This features the new 11th gen Intel processors. It's a quad core. The focus of this laptop seems to deliver kind of a overall premium build quality and experience at a lower price point. It's also very light at 4.41 pounds. Comes with a 512 gig NVMe SSD, which is again pretty good at this price point of $1099. Now, we should see top of the line single-threaded performance, which would be great in lots of games, though more games are taking advantage of multi-threaded performance, and multi-threaded performance is kind of the future, so you're kind of not future-proofing as much if you get a 4-core CPU. That said, in the vast majority of games, clock speed is more important than threads still. I would expect to see great gaming performance from the CPU. Now, it's unclear if the Asus Dash is a Max-Q GPU or if it has a higher power limit. The ports on this machine include 3 USB 3.2 Type A's and 1 USB-C with Thunderbolt 4 support. That's right, Thunderbolt 4 support. And that includes USB-C 100 watt power delivery. Super impressed right now to have all of these great features for only $1,100. It comes with Bluetooth 5.2 and Wi-Fi 6 and has a 76 watt-hour battery, which is very nice. If this Intel chip is very power efficient, we should be able to get really good battery life from this machine. Now, one downside to this machine is it does come with a very similar display as the GF65, so it's not as colorful. Comes in at 62.5% sRGB as rated by Asus. Now, it is a 144 Hz display. We don't know what the response rate will be on this display, and it could suffer from ghosting. We'll have to find out. Primary focus of this machine is if you want the premium ports, premium design, this seems to be in the same vein as the Zephyrus G14, which I really liked in 2020. If there was any major con to this laptop, I think it would be potentially the display just being a lower color gamut and potentially a slower response rate. We don't know yet. We need to test that out. Moving on to the Asus TUF A15 and A17. This is the first Ryzen 7 5800H laptop in the lineup. Now, both the 15 and 17-inch versions of this laptop come with the Ryzen 7 5800H and the RTX 3060. Again, not sure, Max Q, Max P, question mark. We'll need to find that out. Both have 16 gigs of RAM and a Full HD 144 Hz 62.5% sRGB display. Now, the 17-inch version costs $100 more and comes with a 1 terabyte SSD instead of a 512 gig. Now, these Asus TUF laptops still come with a webcam, which is really nice. Now, on the ports side of things, we have 3 USB-A 3.2s, 1 USB-C 3.2 and HDMI 2.0B with no Thunderbolt support because this is an AMD chassis, so no eGPU expansion capability. And sadly, we also do not have an SD card slot as well on any of these laptops so far, so you'll need to get an SD card slot reader. Now, these come with Bluetooth 5.2 and Wi-Fi 6. And then we also have a 90 watt-hour huge battery. This is close to the maximum, which is 99 watt-hours. So this is the biggest battery out of this laptop lineup. Now, both the 17 and 15 inch is less than 1 inch thick. The 15 inch weighs 5.07 pounds and the 17 inch is 5.73 pounds. So they're both fairly light. Now, some cons to the TUF A15 and A17. Past versions had lackluster thermals due to minimal holes in the bottom side of the chassis. Now, this new version has more airflow. Now, another downside to this machine is that we're dealing again with a lower color gamut display at 62.5%. So if you're someone that really cares about color gamut, at this price point, it's hard to find one with 100% sRGB, but have no fear, we've got one in the list. let's talk about the Gigabyte A5. They've clearly decided to go for function over form on this particular chassis, and at the same time to price it very competitively. If you don't care about having a super premium experience in your laptop and you want to focus on just getting the best performing and best display, best functionality machine, this seems like the best one out of the $1,300 price point category. Now this is a $1,300 machine, comes with the Ryzen 7 5800H, RTX 3060. Is it a max Q? Is it not? It's probably not because this is a thicker chassis, but we don't have confirmation yet one way or the other. And it's a full HD 240 Hz display with 100% sRGB. And the fact that this is a 240 Hz display basically means ghosting will be significantly reduced compared to the 144 Hz display, pretty much guaranteed. If you want a great display at this price point, currently this is the only one that has 100% sRGB and an RTX 3000 card for under $1,300. But I would not be surprised to see more options crop up as time goes on. Of course, if I find those options, I'll add them to the spreadsheet. 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD. It has an overall light weight of 4.85 pounds, but it is 1.14 inches thick. Now this does have a webcam and it has a 2.5-inch HDD slot, so you can add a full size 2.5-inch SSD or HDD for cheap storage expansion. So for like $100, you could add 2 terabytes of extra space to your laptop easily. The focus of this Gigabyte A5 is to have a high performance CPU and GPU performance, and it's functionality focused, such as more ports and having a higher quality display as well. It'll still fit into backpacks no problem and be very portable, especially because it's so lightweight, but you gotta admit it is kind of cool having a super thin laptop too, so I would put this as one of the downsides. From a pure gaming perspective, if I had to pick one of these laptops to sit down and play a match of competitive gaming, and I wanted the best advantage in the games that I'm playing, this is the laptop I would pick because of that 240 Hz display. Now, if I had to pick my top picks for CPU performance, I would pick a Ryzen 7 5800 chassis laptop. As far as GPU performance goes, we don't know the thermals of these laptops yet, so we're gonna assume that they're all pretty close. I mean, some might be max Q, some might be max P. Overall, if you want the most premium laptop, I would look at the Asus TUF Dash as your priority number one. Overall, if this was my $1,300, I'd probably lean towards the Asus TUF Dash if the display is better than expected, and if it's not, then I'd probably just go with the Gigabyte A5. But that's just me and what I value. What do you value? Which of these laptops would you pick? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. So that's my comparison between all the RTX 3060 laptops that cost less than $1,300. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and if you don't want to miss out on more laptop reviews, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell. Ba-ding! Ba-ba-ba-ding. Why am I doing that? I don't know. My brain is silly. Okay, is that everything? That's it. I'll see you in the next one. Brandon out.